Hi guys, welcome back to another video. Sean Burroughs, the Padres announced the passing of former third baseman Sean Burroughs on Friday. We mourn the passing of former Padres third baseman Sean Burroughs. Our thoughts and prayers are with his family during this very difficult time. Burroughs played 7 years in the majors from 2002 to 2006 and 11 to 12, mostly playing with the Padres, 2 to 5, before finishing his career with the Rays, D-backs and Twins. Burroughs posted a career 278 averages, with 463 hits and 12 home runs. Condolences to the Burroughs family on Sean's tragic passing, said Padres manager Mike Shildt. A former Padre, and just a really sad thing. Our hearts, for the entire organization, are with the family. The son of former big leaguer Jeff Burroughs, 240 career home runs from 1970 to 85 and AL MVP with the Rangers in 1974, Burroughs was born around the game and was on a path to the majors from the start. Burroughs was a two-time Little League Baseball World Series champion for Long Beach, California, and became the first American-born player to throw back-to-back no-hitters in the LLWS. Burroughs was selected 9th overall by the Padres in the 1998 draft and debuted 4 years later. He was part of a new wave of Padres baseball in San Diego, as he played in the final 2 years at Qualcomm Stadium, 2002 to 2003, and then in the first 2 years at Petco Park, 0-05, with his final year in a Padres uniform coinciding with the team's first division title at the new stadium. Number 2. James Gregory. Comedy legend James Gregory, Jr. died Wednesday at the age of 78. Known since the 1980s to fans as the funniest man in America, Gregory died from cardiac complications. According to a press release, the Georgia native completed work on his first and only autobiography, A Bushel of Beans and a Peck of Tomatoes, The Life and Times of the Funniest Man in America, James Gregory, which will be published in November 2024. Though often considered a Southern comedian, he never used the term in his performances, and, in fact, worked frequently across North America doing what he called down-home, common-sense humor. James was a radio icon with thousands of appearances on local broadcasts and hundreds more on popular syndicated programs, including John Boy and Billy, Rick and Bubba, and Bob and Tom. He turned down an appearance on The Tonight Show when he refused to speed up his delivery, and instead found a home as one of the most frequent guests ever on the Nashville network, TNN, where he was a favorite of radio and TV personality Ralph Emery on his nightly talk show Nashville Now. James was born about 25 miles east of Atlanta in a rural area, and many of his jokes are based on his observations of rural life. His website states, "It's storytelling at its best." The trademark caricature is the essence of humorist James Gregory's comedy, rib-tickling reflections on life from the front porch. Number 3. Sam Rubin, longtime entertainment anchor for KTLA in Los Angeles, has died at the age of 64, fellow anchor Frank Buckley announced on air Friday. Rubin was a mainstay for celebrity interviews and covered all things Hollywood for decades. He also often reported for international media, including in Australia and the UK, Buckley said. Buckley said Rubin was at work on Thursday and called in sick Friday morning. KTLA later reported that Rubin's family confirmed he died of a heart attack. "It is such a shock," KTLA morning anchor Eric Spillman said. "He was one of my best friends. We worked together every day for 33 years. Spillman described Rubin as a huge and remarkable talent who could talk about anything to anyone. "He was born to be a broadcaster," Spillman added. His laugh, charm, and caring personality touched all who knew him, KTLA shared in a social media tribute. Sam was a loving husband and father, the roles he cherished the most. According to Rubin's bio on KTLA.com, he joined the KTLA morning news show in 1991, going on to win multiple Emmys. He also received the Golden Mike Award for Best Entertainment Reporter, a Lifetime Achievement Award from the Southern California Broadcasters Association, and was named Best Entertainment Reporter by the Los Angeles Press Club. Rubin was one of the founding members of the Broadcast Film Critics Association and regularly appeared on BBC television and radio in the United Kingdom as well as Triple M Radio and Channel 9 television network in Australia. Number 4. Dennis Thompson. Dennis Thompson, drummer and last remaining member of the MC5, dies at 75. Thompson was the last surviving member of the group after the death of guitarist Wayne Kramer in February. Thompson, who was the last surviving member of the group after the death of guitarist Wayne Kramer in February, died in a Michigan nursing home on Thursday. He had been recovering after a heart attack in April, his son Chris McNulty told Detroit News. He was a true, free-spirited rock and roller up until the very last day, McNulty said. Thompson joined MC5, short for Motor City 5, in 1965, at the age of 17. He earned the nickname Machine Gun because of his fast and hard approach to drumming, which resembled the sound of his namesake, a Thompson machine gun or Tommy gun. MC5 were an incendiary force in their city's music scene, with their 1969 debut album, Kick Out the Jams, being a live recording from Detroit's Grande Ballroom where the band made their name. Thompson's sound would influence scores of punk and metal drummers that came after him. The band were proud of their working-class roots and were charged with revolutionary zeal from the outset. Their manager John Sinclair formed the anti-racist collective the White Panther Party, and the band protested against the Vietnam War and the Democratic National Convention. Buoyed by an astonishingly heavy guitar sound from Kramer and Fred "Sonic" Smith, the words "Kick Out the Jams" became synonymous with resistance and pointed the way towards the punk rock of the 1970s. MC5 released 3 studio albums, 1969's Kick Out the Jams, 1970's Back in the USA and 1971's High Time, before they disbanded. The band later reunited as a touring entity and played gigs across the world in various iterations, including a 50th anniversary tour in 2018. MC5 are set to be inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame later this year. Thompson's son McNulty told Detroit News that when his father heard, he said, "It's about fucking time." Number 5. Shirley Comran. British author and journalist Dame Shirley Comran has died aged 91 days after receiving her damehood. Writing on Instagram, her designer son Jasper Comran said his mother passed away as he praised doctors and staff at St. Mary's Hospital in Paddington. "Shovel Girl has flown away, a lark ascending," Mr. Comran wrote. Former Prime Minister Liz Truss, who made the author a dame in her resignation honours list, described Dame Shirley as the life force. Known for her best-selling books including Superwoman and Lace, she received her damehood last week for her services to mathematics education, having founded the Maths Anxiety Trust. Dame Shirley began writing books after she was diagnosed with myalgic encephalomyelitis, ME, in her late 30s and could no longer work full-time. In 1975, she wrote acclaimed non-fiction book Superwoman, recognized as a feminist practical guidebook. Dame Shirley's first novel titled Lace was published in 1982 and later turned into a TV miniseries in the U.S. starring Bess Armstrong, Brooke Adams, and Ariel Dombasle. Her other novels include Savages, Crimson and Tiger Eyes. Writing on Twitter, Ms. Truss posted, "She was a life force, incredibly generous and a dedicated campaigner for maths education. I am very grateful for all the encouragement and support she gave me." Last week Sir Kenneth O'Liza, the Lord Lieutenant of Greater London, presented Dame Shirley with the honour in hospital. Sharing 2 pictures from the ceremony, he wrote on social media, "Yesterday Imperial NHS, surrounded by her family and staff of the Manvers Acute Respiratory Unit, I was privileged, on behalf of His Majesty, to invest Dame Shirley Comran as a Dame Commander of the Order of the British Empire for services to mathematics education." Number 6. Jimmerson. UFC pioneer and former professional boxer Art Jimmerson died Wednesday at 60, his family announced. Jimerson's daughter confirmed his death to ESPN, and his son, Christian Jimerson, also announced the news on social media. Dear friends and family, it is with heavy hearts that we announce the passing of our beloved Art Jimerson, Christian wrote. Art was known for his love of God, family, and boxing. He will be deeply missed by all who knew him. A funeral service to celebrate Art's life will be announced. We are grateful for the outpouring of love and support during this difficult time. Please keep Art and his family in your thoughts and prayers. Jimerson competed at UFC 1 in 1993, leaving a lasting memory as the only fighter to compete in the octagon wearing one boxing glove. As a result, he earned the nickname One Glove, following his one and only UFC bout, which was against UFC Hall of Famer Royce Gracie in the UFC 1 quarterfinals. One Glove intended to use his gloved hand to work his jab and set up his power punches with a bare right hand in the fight against Gracie. Furthermore, Jimerson wanted to protect his hand for an upcoming boxing match a few months later. Jimerson lost the bout by submission to the Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu legend, but he became an unforgettable figure of the early days of the UFC due to his unique approach in his lone MMA appearance. Although he initially struggled to deal with the jokes that followed, he embraced his new nickname over time. As a pro boxer, Jimerson's record was 33-18, including 17 knockout victories, from 1985 to 2002. He brought a 15-fight boxing winning streak with him into his one UFC appearance in November 1993, and then returned to the ring 2 months later following the submission loss to Gracie. Following his combat sports career as a fighter, Jimerson passed on his knowledge of the sweet science as he became a personal boxing trainer and taught at UFC GYM in Torrance, California. Number 7. Susan Backliny. Susan Backliny, the actress and stuntwoman whose portrayal of a violent death as the first shark attack victim in the opening scene of the blockbuster movie Jaws terrified moviegoers, died on Saturday at her home in California. She was 77. Her agent, Sean Clark, confirmed the death, saying that she had suffered a heart attack. He did not specify where in California she lived. Jaws, the 1975 movie directed by Steven Spielberg, memorably features Ms. Backliny in a scene in which she played a skinny dipper, Chrissy Watkins, who runs along the beach and dives into the water for a nighttime swim. The placid scene is shattered as she is suddenly pulled under the water. She screams while being violently thrashed by an unseen great white shark and tries desperately to cling to a clanging buoy only to be pulled below the water one final time. For the scene, Ms. Backliny was secured to a harness, according to the Daily Jaws, a website devoted to the phenomenon, history, legacy, and craft of Jaws. The Palm Beach Post reported that Ms. Backliny was wearing a pair of jeans with metal plates stitched into the sides with cables attached. To create the effect of being pulled through the water, Susan was tethered to a line anchored to the ocean floor beneath her and deliberately left unaware of when she would be submerged initially, aiming to elicit a more authentic surprise from her, the Daily Jaws reported. Number 8. Mark Damon. Actor and business exec Mark Damon, who starred in 1960 film House of Usher, has died, multiple outlets report. He was 91. The actor-turned-businessman died on Sunday, May 12, of natural causes in Los Angeles, his family told The Hollywood Reporter and Variety. His death came just days after the death of his House of Usher director Roger Corman at age 98. The Chicago-born actor studied at UCLA, where he roomed with Jack Nicholson, before breaking onto the big screen in films like Inside Detroit and Screaming Eagles, according to The Hollywood Reporter. After starring in The House of Usher, which earned him a Golden Globe, Damon went on to act in spaghetti westerns and travel to Europe, where he starred in films like Johnny Yuma, Black Sabbath, and The Young Racers. Recalling his stint as a Western star in a 2014 interview with writer Sidney Levine, he said, "I was surprised, because I had never ridden a horse in my life. Cowboys had to be tall and blonde, and I'm not that tall. I had very dark hair at the time," he continued, "but they said, it doesn't matter. You're American." I said okay and learned to ride a horse. Upon returning to the U.S., he switched over to the business side of the film industry, helping to invent independent film financing. The actor-producer founded the Producers Sales Organization, which brought American independent films to international distributors and helped launch the American Film Market and Independent Film and Television Alliance, according to Variety. Reflecting on how his business changed the film landscape, Damon told Variety in 2013, "Back in 1975, it was very tough. At that time, usually the producers found funding from private sources. They couldn't use foreign contracts as collateral," he said, adding, "That's something our company kind of invented." The following decade, Damon had tapped into not only film distribution, but also producing. He worked as an executive producer on two Wolfgang Petersen films, 1981 war film Das Boot, which earned 6 Oscar nominations, and 1984 fantasy classic The Never-Ending Story, per The Hollywood Reporter. Other films he executive produced include Short Circuit, The Lost Boys, 9.5 Weeks, and 8 Million Ways to Die. Damon also produced 2003's Monster, which told the story of Eileen Wuornos and earned himself and director Patty Jenkins an Independent Spirit Award, plus a Best Actress Oscar for Charlize Theron. In 2008, the acting vet co-authored a book about his life, from his Italian Playboy days to his film industry contributions, from cowboy to mogul to monster, the never-ending story of film pioneer Mark Damon. Damon is survived by his wife, Maggie Markoff Damon, whom he met when she starred in 1974's The Arena, which he produced, per The Hollywood Reporter. He is also survived by his son Jonathan, his daughter Alexis Damon Ribort, and his son-in-law Machi Ribort. Number 9. Samart Williams. Samart Williams, whose Tony-nominated 1979 play Home is being revived on Broadway this year, and whose TV producing credits include Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, Martin and Haggins with Mr. Cooper, died peacefully today in Bangor, North Carolina. He was 78. His death was announced by family. Born Samuel Arthur Williams on January 20, 1946, in Philadelphia, Williams was a prolific playwright, screenwriter, actor, and producer. Performing as Sam Williams, he got his start on the New York stage in the early 1970s, appearing in notable plays such as Black Jesus and, with the New York's Negro Ensemble Company, Nowhere to Run, Nowhere to Hide and Liberty Courland. By the mid-70s he began performing in other off-Broadway shows under the name Samart Williams. By the end of the decade, Williams had made his mark as a stage writer, and is today best known for Home, a drama originally staged by the Negro Ensemble Company in 1979 that moved to Broadway the following year. Home will be revived on Broadway beginning this June, is a major roundabout theater company production directed by Kenny Leon. The production begins previews May 17 at the Todd Hyams Theater, opening on June 5. Home is described by Roundabout as a muscular and melodic coming-of-age story that gives voice to the unbreakable spirit of all Americans who have been searching for a place to belong. The drama tells the story of Cephas Miles, a black Southern farmer thrown in jail for opposing the Vietnam draft and later moving north only to experience further difficulties before finally returning home. The original Broadway production was nominated for the Best Play Tony Award and ran for 278 performances. Williams' other stage credits include Welcome to Black River and Friends. Williams also kept busy throughout the 1980s and 90s writing for such TV shows as The New Mike Hammer, Cagney and Lacey, Badges, John Henry, Frank's Place, Miami Vice, The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, and Martin, among others. He received a 1985 Emmy nomination, Outstanding Writing in a Variety or Music Program, for Motown Returns to the Apollo, shared with fellow writers Buzz Cohen and Peter Elbling. As a producer, Williams was Emmy-nominated for Frank's Place and scored major TV hits with The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, Haggins with Mr. Cooper, Martin, and The Good News. A recognizable actor, Williams made notable appearances in 1984's Blood Simple and as the enslaved person Jim in a 1985 American Playhouse PBS limited series production of The Adventures of Huckleberry Finn. Other acting credits include guest appearances in 227, Miami Vice, Frank's Place, The Women of Brewster Place, The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, A Rage in Harlem and Haggins with Mr. Cooper. On the big screen, he made his debut The Wanderers, 1979, and the following year played a subway police officer in director Brian De Palma's Dressed to Kill. Accolades include a Guggenheim Fellowship, the National Endowment for the Arts Fellowship for Playwriting, and other awards for writing. He was an artist in residence at North Carolina Central University, where he taught classes on equity theater and the art of playwriting. Number 10. Gudrun Yu. The star of beloved 1980s children's show Supergran has died aged 98. Her portrayal of the granny who gained superpowers after being struck by a magic ray won her legions of young fans in the ITV series, which ran from 1985 through to 1987. Her death was confirmed by her niece Kate McNeil. As well as Supergran, Miss Yu appeared in a number of stage productions, radio plays, and other TV shows, including starring opposite Orson Welles in a 1951 stage version of Shakespeare's Othello directed by the Hollywood star. Her niece remembered her as a really kind person who was happy to be recognized for her most famous role. She added that when she last saw her aunt in December, the actress had enjoyed hearing that there were plans to reboot the TV show as a new film, and recalled the likes of George Best appearing on the program. Yu was born on the 12th of March, 1926 in Milton of Campsie, north of Glasgow, to Alan and Lily Yu. She was the oldest of 3 children and had outlived her 2 brothers. Although she enjoyed a lengthy career, her most famous role came aged 59, when she took on the part of Supergran. Based on a series of books written by Forrest Wilson, the show was about Granny Smith, who gained superpowers after accidentally being hit by a magic ray. She then uses her powers to protect the residents of Chiselton from a series of villains, most notably Scottish actor Ian Cuthbertson's scheming Scunner Campbell. The program was hugely popular and was sold abroad to around 60 other countries. In 1985 it won an International Emmy Award in the Children and Young People category. It also saw a host of diverse guests appear, including Billy Connolly, who also sang the program's theme tune, comedian Spike Milligan, former Doctor Who Patrick Troughton, and strongman champion Jeff Capes. Yu lived in London for most of her life and started her acting career initially in children's theatre. In 1951 spent 6 weeks playing Desdemona opposite Hollywood star Welles in his production of Othello, while she dubbed over the actress Suzanne Clouter for a film version of the project. She performed in a number of other films, TV, and radio productions from the 1950s onwards, including as Lady Macbeth in an Encyclopedia Britannica series of educational films, several episodes of Casualty, and a murder victim in Midsomer Murders. Her niece added, she had a very memorable voice. I remember my husband was watching Casualty one night, and I went to that Gudrun as soon as I heard the voice. Scottish actor Joe McFadden worked with Yu in the 1996 BBC drama The Crow Road. He told BBC Scotland News that he was more than a little bit starstruck to meet her, as he loved Supergran as a child. McFadden, who is currently appearing in the London West End show 222, A Ghost Story, recalled, "We had to climb this massive tree and I remember her being really lovely and up for it, a real trooper. She will be sadly missed." Yu was married for over 40 years to John Ramsey, who died in 2008. The couple had a stepson, Gordon. She lived in London and died at her home. For more interesting videos, please subscribe our channel.